Welcome to the Local Marketing Source Weekly Update, brought to you by localmarketingsource.com.
This week's Local Marketing Update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/ScottPGallagher.
Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing you a weekly local marketing industry update. Now this week we've got a couple of different things to talk about. It's going to be fun. I've got a story, it's a coaching story, and it has to do with some hockey. We're into that great season. One thing I like about October is you've got, at least in the United States, you've got all the four major sports that are playing. Here in Chicago, it's really exciting. The Chicago Cubs are doing really well. Today being October 21st, 2015, you know what today is? It's when Marty McFly is scheduled to arrive in the future here in Chicago. So I thought that was kind of ironic. When I was a kid growing up in Northern Ontario, I loved that movie. It was one of my favorite movies. One of my cousin actually owns one of those vehicles, the DMC vehicles. And I would never have thought that I would have been in Chicago on this day, but nonetheless, I want to share with you a hockey story and how it has to do with business and an agency. But before we get into that, this week, Google and Yahoo, what have they got going on? They're back in bed together. What this means, it's different. It's interesting to go back and go through some of this, but nonetheless, and finally, today we've been talking about, this week in the premium group, we've been going through the automated webinar, so I thought maybe we'd talk and discuss a little bit about that. But all right, well, let's get started with Google and Yahoo. You say, wait, hold on, Scott, wasn't Yahoo in bed with Bing, and haven't they? Well, yeah, they are, and it's really interesting. As a matter of fact, Bing and Yahoo just got their deal back together. I believe it was June of this year. And now Yahoo and Google have signed a 3-year deal together. Wow. Well, under Microsoft's deal, this is where it gets interesting. Microsoft has made an agreement that 51% of all search results and ads, well, predominantly ads, 51% of all ads on Yahoo searches show up that are coming from Microsoft. But Google is now driving the Yahoo search. So it's feasible that you could go to Yahoo, you do a search, it uses Google's technology to get the search, and it may end up serving a Microsoft ad. I mean, these are the three big search engines, and they represent 97% of the market share. I don't know. It's bizarre. This deal may not go through. Regulators may kibosh the deal. That's more likely going to happen in Europe than it is going to happen here in America. That all then means, well, there are going to be different results. It's an interesting situation. It's a very interesting announcement that Google and Yahoo have made. Now, you go back 15 years, and Yahoo and Google used to be in bed together, where Google would serve up the search results and ads for Yahoo for over 4 years, from 2000 to 2004. And that's when Yahoo said, wow, we need to have our own. We need to have our own algorithmic powers and be able to search, and they did. And now 9 years later, they're being driven by both Bing and Google. Now, Yahoo's obviously got some of the market share for it. Some people are still loyal to it, but it's Marissa Myers, CEO of Google. This may be, I think that this is one of the last cries. Now, they were doing some tests over the summer with Google on this notion, and inevitably those tests became positive, because now Google is driving approximately 49% of all Yahoo searches. So I think this is yet just another stake in the wound, another stake in the casket for Yahoo to be making this move and not taking ownership and whatnot. What really is Yahoo, and what do they do, and what do they define, and whatnot? It's very, very difficult to say that. So I'm hearing quite a few people coming on the line in the last 60 seconds. I'm wondering if there was any problems. I should probably start 5 minutes late. It reminds me of a story. I'll get into my story in a moment, actually. I'll just finish up with this deal between Yahoo and Google. What's likely going to happen in the short term is the deal between Microsoft and Yahoo is going to be dissipated. We don't know how long that is going to be, but the terms are pretty simple, that 51% of all ads are to show up. And if Yahoo and Google stick together, you see what's been happening since Bing started. Bing kept growing every single year, but they were growing at the expense of Yahoo. And so when they created their partnership, when we looked at market shares, especially over the first 18 months of that, market shares were changing. And then you'd see an ad that said, "Oh, Bing is growing, blah, 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 blah." And, well, they're just taking market share, or however you looked at it, from their partner. Now, this deal is really interesting. I think Google's motive is to go and capture market share inevitably from the competitor that they're actually supplying, which in turn is also going to hurt Microsoft. So I think that's the caveat why they're all in bed together one way or another. You've got Yahoo, that 51% of their ads are served by Microsoft and 49% are likely going to be served by Google. Bizarre. I wanted to share a story with you. Some of you know that this year I decided to become a coach of a hockey team. And the experiences that I'm going through with that are, I mean, there's nothing that I've experienced in my life that I was more terrified of and excited all at the same time. It was a really big deal, and I genuinely was scared of it. But I was scared of it because I had no coaching experience, and it started with that my son was one of the last kids to get registered. And when I spoke to our coach of last year, I had asked, "Can we get on your team again this year? We really liked you as a coach." And he called me up and we spoke. He says, "Listen, I'm not coaching this year. My kids are elsewhere, but I am running the league, and I really need help with coaches. You had mentioned last year you'd like to be a coach. Would you like to step up?" And I said, "All right, never done it before, but here I am, head coach of a hockey team." Turns out in the league, I'm the only head coach that has no experience, and inevitably probably not the best place to start. I probably should have spent some time with as an assistant for a while and whatnot, but they needed somebody in demand, and I stepped up. I said, "Okay, I'll do this." My son's on my team and whatnot. We get out there and we play our first game, and we lost 2-5. And our first period was okay. The second two periods, we just completely lost it. And our second game, we lost 8-0, and it was like, whoa, this sucks. You're having some parents starting to look at me, and I've got two assistant coaches. Both of them don't have experience coaching either. One of them guys can't even skate. And I'm thinking half my team has never played the game of hockey before. Now they've got hockey training in terms of skating skills and whatnot, but they've never had a minute of training in terms of games and rules and strategy on the ice and whatnot. So, I'm looking at this. I'm like, well, it's okay. We lost a couple of times, but I've got a challenge in front of me. So what am I going to do? What can I do here to be able to pull all this together so we can get a couple of wins out? I know it's a rec league and it's all about fun and games, but let's face it. Every parent and child in that rink wants to win. There is a competitive nature. We've got to win. Not only that, I'm a Canadian in Chicagoland, and I've got to live up to my name. So I thought, heck, what am I going to do? Did some thinking about it, and I knew there was a few things here that I didn't have place. I didn't have a plan. Obviously, if we're going to go and attack something, I didn't have education. I didn't know how to solve my problem. In the quadrant of knowledge, you can take a circle and you can break it into 4 quadrants. And the first quadrant is we know what we know. I know that I know some mathematics skills. I know that I know how to add 1 plus 1. Okay, I know what I know. The second quadrant is we know what we don't know. And that's still a safe quadrant to be in. And, I know that I don't know something about science in space. Okay. The third quadrant being we don't know what we know. That gets into somewhat of a dangerous quadrant to operate in. We don't know what we know. We really want to recognize the information we do have. I had some skills inside of me that can help teach these kids to play as a team, but I didn't know what skills those were. And so I had some of that inside me already, and it was kind of dangerous that I couldn't put those to work. What I did know is I didn't have any experience in it, and I know what I didn't know was I didn't know how to coach a hockey team, a youth hockey team. But the fourth quadrant is you don't know what you don't know. It's the most dangerous quadrant to operate in. So I thought of it. I thought of these 4 different quadrants, and I figured out, some of my knowledge, whatnot. I said, well, I got to put some clarity to what I don't know, and what I know I don't know, and what I don't know I know. And it hit me, and I thought, wait a minute. I've been a coach. I've been a sales manager in a coaching position. I've got 20 years of coaching experience behind me. I know how to coach people, and I know how to look at a problem and identify the challenges in that problem and put together a solution or a plan of some sort. What I need to put a plan together. I need to figure out how to get a plan together. Well, I don't know what are the components in that. So I've got to go and do research as to, well, what are the important things to be able to know and the components of it. And I broke it down and started to do my research. And it reminded me of the days when I got into internet marketing 15 years ago and started that new venture of trying to explore and learn myself. And what I did is I stopped and I used my business skills, my coaching skills, as if I was working with a third party to evaluate what I was doing. I was able then to go out and identify the challenges I needed to know, and then I was provided the education and I put together a plan. We executed on that plan, and we had some additional practices outside of what the league authorizes us to do. And we, within that plan, we were able to identify some of the problems, and that those problems were fact. Hey, these kids just didn't even know where to go when they didn't have the puck. So I'd have 5 of my kids all chasing the same puck, and identified that. So we worked with the individuals and placed them. Long story short of this story, when I was thinking of it, was planning. Failure to plan is planning to fail. And I can't emphasize how often I see people that they don't have a particular plan. I got my plan printed up beside me. It's a part of me. It's a part of what I do. And it's just amazing how many people do not have business plans, or they don't even have the knowledge on what is important to have within that plan. And that's dangerous. And I'm sharing this story because as I go through the premium group and working with people, this is clearly the challenges that most business owners, I believe, are facing on an ongoing basis, especially in the internet marketing world of growing an agency. There's just so many things to work on. There's so many different things and moving parts of this business. There's nothing easy about it. And if you don't even know how to, not only not knowing what to do, but how to prioritize what needs to be done, and when you do, to go to execute a task, do you know that on on your business plan and the different items that you may be putting together, whether it be your different marketing assets you may be creating, or your sales strategy, or your operational strategy or templates, that when you look at a particular, well, let me take a step back. I work with my premium students, and all four of them are very different areas of their business life for this growth. One's, doing $250,000 of sales already. Another is a full-time school teacher for 5th grade. Well, obviously they're going to be creating assets different ways. They've got different access to resources, both time and money. The full-time school teacher has got less money and less time to invest than somebody that's working full-time making $250,000 right now. They've got money and time. They do it full-time. So as I work with these different individuals, it's all unique. I can't just say do this and do that and have a very linear approach. It's all based on the individual itself. And we may identify certain task items and whatnot. I've spoken to one student today, and it's his authority book. All right, we're getting very, very close to a mailer, and he says to me, "I had to fire my writer." Oh shit, that's a big deal. That's a pretty big deal. This is something that we've been working on now for 3.5, 4 weeks, and now you're pulling the plug. You've just set your business back a month. What's the opportunity costs for that? If you're looking at, a 50% growth rate and your current revenue is about 20 grand, that could have been a $30,000 mistake. But that's the nature of business. The point is to be able to accomplish that goal that we set forth. I could give that student 3 different options, or a keynote presentation, how to deliver a keynote presentation and get it ready. I said, well, different people are different. That, back in the day, I would create a lot of scripts, and then I would practice the script multiple times to deliver something. And I would actually have to practice it probably more times than you might have to, or the average person. I'm not a very good actor. I never have been. I mean, I'm good in sales, but sales is not an acting thing. And what I had to do in sales to be good when it came to reading off certain scripts, my sales manager would say you'd have to have it memorized and come in. I would have to practice it more than the next person. But I would work on tonality and delivery and physiology of getting that script together. It's practice. So, a keynote presentation, we can either present it and be an actor and have it scripted word for word. We could use the bulleted point approach, or we can use freestyle. Those are the 3 ways that I teach, or I look at something and be able how to do it. I'm good at freestyle. I've got enough practice under my belt that I could have any one of my 7 different presentations and deliver that presentation for well over an hour without any hesitation or whatnot. And I've got my stories already in it that I tell. But I used to operate it from a formatted bulleted approach, where you've got your PowerPoints and then you've got bulleted points all along with you that you want to touch on as you go through those with your webinar. But maybe you're a good actor. And if that's the case, we should be looking at scripts. Point is, every one of these items, there's different ways that need to be tackled or can be handled or accomplished. I digress. And, well, I guess the last thing on my notes here that I did want to discuss today, there really wasn't a lot of updates in the industry. So when we don't have updates in the industry, I try to fill a little bit of time, not as a filler, but inevitably one that offers value. And I wanted to have a discussion about automated webinars. Now, you see, our internet marketing agencies, let me take a step back. We have our presence on the internet. And we know certain statistics about our website. We know that most of our channels, if not all of our channels on the internet, are all going to funnel into our website, different landing pages and whatnot. And we know that when traffic comes to our website, a major percentage of that traffic leaves and never takes action. And our primary call to action inevitably is having them to pick up the phone and call us. And the next call to action is at least get them onto some form of list where we can communicate with them. It's very arguable that these communities and these lists could be on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, but you really own the list when you've got an email list, being the best. And so we know these things, and with our agency, what did I call it? I'm actually just positioning all this stuff right now, so I'm going through labeling. But in terms of the 4 pieces of content, you've got to read content. Us as human beings, we like to read, so that's going to be a downloadable PDF. That's going to be one marketing channel or marketing funnel. Another marketing funnel is your automated webinar. The third one being, the automated webinar is C. So, you've got read, you've got see, hear, and watch is going to be, your webinar. Touch is going to be your physical book. And then, of course, there's talk, which is talk to me, and the sale process starts. But those are four different opt-in channels that we've identified, and one of those being webinar. We know that when you do live webinars, a part of your monthly content strategy, creation strategy once a month, you could take that webinar and get it transcribed, have a blog post. You can take that transcription and create an infographic, and then now you've got a PDF that could be distributed, perhaps thrown into your autoresponder if the content is good enough. You can rip the audio out of that, and you now have a podcast that can be distributed that is sent out monthly. And then, of course, there's your webinar that you could record and set up an automated webinar system. And what the automated webinar system is it just appears that you have ongoing webinars on a regular basis, and potential prospects are able to come into that sales funnel and sign up for that webinar. And then your autoresponder system is then going to send out a certain reminder. My autoresponder system lets me know when people watch, how long when they watch. And then with that data, you can go in and just start to look at, for example, retention rates, retention within the webinar itself. And, I really do look for a retention of at least 80% for the first 60 minutes, getting to the call to action of that webinar. There's different webinar solutions out there. I use a product called Stealth Webinar, but I was going through a second product. I think it was a Mike Coning's product today from one of our students, and it's equally as good. You got to pay for it, but it's absolutely a channel. And then once somebody signs up for that within your autoresponder, our system automatically tags them saying, oh, they've watched that. Great, you watched the webinar. This is what this is what people do after they watch the webinar. We'll give you a full analysis on your business, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to give you this value. Just fill out this form here to be able to help you close those sales funnels for your agency. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take 30 seconds now, and I'll be back and answer any questions that you guys might have.
Well, thanks for watching the Local Marketing Industry Update. We've got these things coming out every single week. So if you liked with what you heard, just click the button right above me right here to subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to get a little bit more, right over here, go check out localmarketingsource.com. We've got free reports that you can grab. You can even register for a free marketing course to get in and see the portal. Or just go ahead and follow us on some of the social channels. We'll be around. Until next time.